are one, yeah. We are one, yeah. Okay, sometimes we don't know the same. Sometimes we don't know the same. But that don't make a difference. Hey, hey, hey. If we are here to understand, if we are here to stay, we are one.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Table for Us. As always, before I start an episode, I always want to give all honor and glory to God. I started this podcast, because He gave me the vision to start this podcast. So, always give Him all the praise and all the glory before I do anything, when I wake up in the morning, before I go to bed at night, throughout the day, but specifically, especially before I start any podcast episode. I want to give Him all the praise, because without Him, I couldn't do anything that I'm doing. So, before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to also give a shout out to Podbean, which is where my podcast is hosted at. So if you are someone who has thought about starting a podcast, not sure where to start, what to use, what's good, what's not good, there are so many things that are out there, but I just want to give a shout out to what it is that I actually use. But do your research, figure out what's best for you. So I'll be sure to link that information below for Podbean. They do have a starter pack where you don't pay anything. They have a trial, I believe it's for 30 days. So go ahead and click that link below. Go ahead and get that podcast started. Someone wants to hear what you have to say. And as far as editing, I use Descript. It's fairly simple at first, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was running into a bunch of roadblocks, but they are constantly doing updates every week. I'm always getting updates on the app. So go ahead and make sure you guys click that link as well. Check it out. Now I can click a few buttons and my podcast is ready to go. So just wanted to get that out the way. So today we are going to be talking about depression. Now, I had an episode previously where I talked about postpartum depression. Now, postpartum depression, of course, as you guys know, it happens in women. And it can start happening when they're actually pregnant and last up until their child is 5 years old. And most of the time, we don't realize that's what's going on. Most people will say, oh, it's the hormones. That's what's causing you to be all over the place. The hormones can also cause you to be in postpartum depression as well. And I just want to dive more into depression in whole, right? Specifically in the Black community. Now, I shouldn't say specifically in the Black community, just depression in whole, because depression affects everyone, not just Black people. But I am going to be talking specifically from my perspective and my lived experience with depression as a Black woman. So if anything that I talk about on this podcast as a woman, as a Black person, as a Black woman, as a mom, as a sister, then this table is for us, okay? I'm not going to ever tell anybody, oh, because you look like this or this and that, you can't pull up a seat to the table. Come one, come all. You guys pull up a seat to the table. Let's dive into this episode. So, from my own perspective, outside of postpartum depression, I have experienced depression and not realizing that's what I was going through. Once I actually started on my journey with getting closer to God, being more in my word, reading my Bible, understanding what it is that I'm reading, because growing up, we had to memorize verses. We had to memorize the books of the Bible. Now, as an adult, I'm actually getting more into understanding the books of the Bible, understanding the scriptures that I'm reading, and being able to actually apply them to what I'm going through. So now that I have that, plus I've gone to therapy. I'm never going to shy away from saying that therapy is key in who I am today. And I'm still in therapy because I'm a work in progress. So I'm always trying to be a better version of who I was yesterday. I am never in competition with anybody. I've had situations where, and it probably wasn't intentional, where there were individuals who were in competition with me. And I'm always trying to help people. So if I'm coming up, I want you to come up. This is not a competition. It's enough food out here for us all to eat. But back into my depression that I was experiencing. So I didn't realize I was in depression in those moments in my life until going through therapy. It was just like, wow. So I was depressed then, not realizing I was depressed. And for me, I felt some type of way. Like I felt a sadness. I felt a disappointment. I felt anger. I felt regret. I felt so many emotions, and not realizing all of those emotions are signs of depression or can be signs of depression. So for me, one of the biggest times that I was depressed was after my grandmother passed. She was so influential and such a detrimental part of my life that when I lost her, it impacted me. But because I had to step into a role of, I was already the eldest of my siblings, but my mother just lost her mom. And I had to suppress my grief, so to speak, because I wanted to look out for my mom. She didn't ask me to, but I wanted to look out for my mother. And then in addition to that, because I was the oldest at the time, I believe my brother was 2 and my sisters might have been, I don't know, 8, I want to say, when my grandmother passed away. So I'm now having to step into this role of, they might have been 9 actually, now I'm thinking about it, because I believe my grandmother passed away, I was 15. But they're young, right? So they're depending solely on my mother, who now has lost her mom and has fallen into depression herself because she lost her mom and she had all these emotions and so forth that she was taking in during that time. Although my grandmother, she passed away from cancer. She got diagnosed with breast cancer, and I'll have a whole nother episode talking about cancer, specifically breast cancer, in another episode. But she was diagnosed at 36. She passed away at 53. She was in remission for years, and then when it came back with a vengeance. So even when you know someone is sick and the end result is terminal, I don't think, it still doesn't hit you until they're gone. Whereas this, oh my goodness, like you just can't prepare for the feelings of death. So one of the things that can cause depression is the loss of a loved one. Someone who is a major benefactor in your life can cause you to be depressed, and you don't realize that you're depressed. You're just like, oh, I'm grieving, I'm sad, I'm okay. You brush it off. And one thing that I can definitely speak from as a Black woman or a person in the Black community is we're constantly told to get over it. So to speak. No one says get over it, but the words of encouragement are always, you're going to be okay, you'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. But no, you're not. So if you want to sit in grief for a little bit or, longer, that's okay. But make sure you understand that you're depressed during that time frame. You can't say I'm not depressed. You are depressed because you're sad. You're going through all these emotions from whomever it is you lost, whether it's a parent, a significant other, a child, a close relative, a friend. You're going to be sad and you're going to be depressed. Now, some people are able to bounce back quickly than others. Some people are not. But it's okay to not be okay. I just want to say that. Those that are around you, and even yourself, when you see, okay, I've been sitting in this long enough, I need to not forget about who I've lost, but figure out how to move forward with my new normal. Okay? Because once someone is gone, they're gone. So now your life has changed forever. It's never going to be what it was before because now that person is not there anymore. So now you have to figure out how to navigate life in that new normal situation that you're in. Depression can look like so many things. Like for myself, I threw myself into my work. Not when my grandmother passed, I was a teenager then. Then I threw myself into overeating and food and stuff. But as I got older and experienced other things, that life will always life. You hear this saying, life be life, and it does, right? So one of the things that I understand more now is that no one ever said life was going to be easy. We're going to experience things in life. We're going to run into doors. We're going to have to jump hurdles, okay? But that don't mean because it's hard, all right, let me just stop here. Let me go the other direction because that's too hard. Nothing is going to be easy that's worth having. worth fighting for. It's not going to be easy. Now, I'm not saying if you keep running into the same thing, the same hurdles, whether it's a relationship, a job, or whatever it is, friendship, if it's just constantly just battles after battles, now you got to do some evaluation and see, hey, is this for me? But we're going to run into roadblocks, and it's going to be frustrating. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel different emotions when you're going through these things. That can also cause depression. So what we do, some of us put up a mask. Some of us throw ourselves into our work. Like, I know when I experienced depression again, not realizing I was depressed, I believe it was after a breakup with my ex-husband, and I was so sad and just devastated because in my mind, I had this vision that, okay, this is the one, this is the relationship that's going to work. We're going to be together till death do us part. We make these plans. We have these hopes and dreams, and things don't always turn out the way that we want them to turn out because we're not on our time. We're on God's time. It's His plan, and we walk in it. And we have to be able to pivot and navigate when things like that happen that we didn't plan for. Not get, I want to say, in this sunken place, right? We have to find a way to come out of that. Like, we all fall into depression at some point or another. And some of us bounce back quicker than others, as I already said. Whereas others, we sit in it longer than we should sit in it. Find a way to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Even if it's a small light, find it and go towards it. Because depression keeps you in the dark. When you come out of that, you see nothing but bright lights. So even if you see a small fraction, go towards that. Come out of that depression. Start going outside more. But first, make sure that you deal with your mental and emotional state that you're in. Because even being outside, I see people and they outside. We outside, we outside. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when you know what's really going on with that person and they're constantly outside, it's okay. So you're trying to put a mask on your depression instead of actually dealing with it. We got to deal with we have to deal with what's deep inside. We have to face that. We have to face it head on because it's not going to go anywhere. So we either going to deal with it or we going to keep running from it, and we're never going to progress and get past it. We got to get past it. Another thing that I've seen with people that, and even myself, thinking about depression outside of me just throwing myself into my work, was just being angry all the time, being very snappy or overly defensive because people was seeing that something was wrong with me. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. Leave me alone. Blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want them to see that something was really wrong with me. So I'm like trying to deflect and tell them I am good, I am fine, it is not me, it is you. And then I sit alone and I'm like, dang, they really got me figured out. They really knew that something was wrong with me, but I wasn't ready to face it myself. So I deflected and I got angry and I pushed people away. So another thing of depression that people don't realize is going on is isolation, right? Isolation can be a good thing, or it can be I'm depressed and I just don't want nobody to be around me. Just because someone's isolating themselves doesn't necessarily mean they're depressed, but it can be a form of depression. So I just want to make that clear that the things that I'm talking about as far as examples is not always the person is depressed, but it can be a sign of depression. I just want to clear that up, okay? Because depression doesn't always look like tears. It can look like I'm overly excited, I'm always outside, and I'm trying to live my best life. I'm never at home. It can be I'm a workaholic and you never see me. I'm always work. It can be, like I said, isolation. It could be anger. It could be so many different things. Like, you guys have to, depression doesn't have a one size fits all. That's probably the best way that I can say that is depression is not a one size fits all symptom, right? There's so many different things that are forms of depression, but I just wanted to shine some light on it because we don't talk about it. And some of it was just hereditary. Nothing actually happened. Did you guys know that different forms of mental illness, or actually all mental illness, can be passed down? You don't even have to be going through anything. You could be sitting up there trying to figure out what is wrong with me. Why do I feel like this? Or why do I'm so anxious all the time? Or I have this ball of just anxiety that's sitting right here in my throat and I can't get it out. Or why am I happy one time, angry the next? Or why am I cool one time and I'm upset the next? Why am I hearing people talking to me? These are all forms of a mental illness. Schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, anxiety. These are all forms of mental illness that can be passed down. So that now tells you, okay, it's not an event that happened that triggered this. This is a chemical imbalance within my DNA that was passed down from probably generations. It might not even be your grandma, your parents, or your great grandparents. It's great parents that has passed. They didn't intentionally pass it down, but it's been passed down. Same with addiction. It can be passed down. If you have someone else in your family from down the line who was an alcoholic, the chances of you possibly being an alcoholic or your children has increased because it's in your family already. We can't alter our DNA. We can try to navigate it and say, okay, I know that this person was depressed or had schizophrenia or whatever the case may be. Let me be more aware of the different signs, and then I can react sooner, or be proactive, be proactive and talk with someone about this. What are the things that could trigger this? What are the things that can help me if I have this trait in me or I'm feeling a certain type of way? We have to be, I had talked about this in another episode where I said we need to be more proactive, but I was talking more so about financial, but we also need to be more proactive when it comes to our mental health as well as our physical health. There is different things that are passed down from generations. When you go and you fill out a paper, right, and you go to the dentist, the doctor, or whatever, and they're asking you all these history health questions, there's a reason, because they're trying to see, okay, are you more susceptible to these things that we're asking? If you've experienced or someone in your family has, because if someone in your family has, the possibility, like I said, of you experiencing that same thing have now increased, or to skip you and it'll go to your children. So when we learn more about our family and ourselves, we could be more proactive so that when these things happen, we can't avoid them, but we can pivot and navigate so that we don't sit in it too long. I hope that made sense, because sometimes I can talk in circles sometimes, but I wanted to shine some light on depression. And it's sometimes we just have the weight of the world on our shoulder, and because we are the strong one in the family and everyone looks on the outside seeing that we're okay, it happens more often with those type of people. It's not always somebody who is, I don't want to say weak, but vulnerable, I should say. It's not always the vulnerable ones who go through this. Sometimes it's the strong ones as well that go through the anxiety, the depression, different mental illness, and we try to, and I'm gonna say we because I'm one of them strong ones that too many people don't check on me because they always see me as I'm good. So because of that, I'm always trying to be good because I don't want nobody to be worried about me. I will tell you I'm okay in a minute, and I might be going through something at that moment and I'm trying to figure it out. Or I just don't want you to be worried about me. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm either trying to figure it out, or I just don't want you to be worried about me, because I understand that we all have things going on in our lives. Everyone goes through things. You go through things. I go through things. They go through things. We all go through things. And it's okay to not be okay. I'm going to say that again because I just said it earlier. It is okay to not be okay. We don't have to have it all figured out. But know that there's resources out there for you. Know that God wants you to lean in on Him. He literally is, cast all your cares and your worries on me. And then once you do that, forget about it. Don't think about it no more. Because then He like, I got it. It's that, I always say this, and because I'm a sports mom, like all my children have played some form of sports at some point or another. And now my younger batch is what I call them. The last batch, rather, I should say, they're now coming to that age where they want to play sports. I've never been that type of mom where it says, oh, I want you to play this, so this is what you're going to play. I would always wait until they showed an interest in whatever it was that they wanted to play. So I have this thing where I'm always saying, put me in, coach. And I use that in so many different scenarios, right? But sometimes we want people to intercede on our behalf, but we feel ashamed. But God is, I got it. Put me in and I'm going to handle it. And trust that when you put me in, I'm going to take care of it. You ain't got to worry about it no more. So I just want to leave you guys with this. If you feel like what you're dealing with is too much for you to bear and you can't handle it, talk to somebody. Please, I cannot stress that enough. Do not isolate yourself and deal with this alone. Some of us, we can figure it out on our own, right? But why? If you have other people who love and care about you, why? I'm working on that every day where it's just like someone asks me, are you good? And I'll say, no, I'm not. Or I'll say, no, but I'll be okay. And then it opens up this conversation. What's going on? And if it's somebody who's a safe space for me to talk to, I don't have a lot of people that I feel safe to talk to. My therapist, I tell her everything because she can't tell nobody else. But people that I actually know, you're going to filter what you tell because you're concerned about, okay, is there going to be judgment? Are they going to have me committed? Are they going to tell somebody else? So you're going to filter the things that you tell the people that you know. That's why I stress so much that therapy is so important, because you can just unload it all. Literally. I'm just going to dump all of this on my therapist and then let them figure this out and put a plan together for me, because that's their job. They got into that field to help people. We don't have to figure things out on our own. There are professionals out there to help us, and there is God who can also help us. Now, real quick before I end this episode, something was said to me the other day, and I get it. When we lose someone that we love, whether it is a human or an animal, we have so many questions as to why. Sorry, I just thought about my dad. Like, we have so many questions as to why. Like, why did this happen to this person? Why did this happen to my fur baby? I'm gonna call it fur babies because that's how I feel about my dogs. We have 3 of them in my family. If you guys know me, Mason has been around he just made 14 in November, and I acquired him from a breeder. So he is half Maltese, half Shih Tzu. And a life expectancy for those breeds, one is 12, the other one is, I want to say it was 15. So the older he gets, the more and more I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not ready for this, but I'm trying to prepare myself because I know I got to be strong for my daughter, because she basically stole him from me. If you watching this, you did. She will tell everyone he's always been her dog. And I must admit, in a way, yes. He's the family dog, but he's always clinged more to her. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be as sad, or because he's been a part of our family for so long. And you try to prepare yourself, like I said earlier, for different things, but you can't. You don't know how it's going to affect you or how it's going to hit you, how it's not going to affect you until it actually happens. And we have so many questions as to why. And sometimes things just happen. Sometimes there are health issues in humans and in our animals that we can catch early and try to rectify, and some things we can't. And sometimes it's just, we're not supposed to be down here forever, right? God has a purpose and he has a plan for our lives. And Whether we're ready, those that are left behind, whether we're ready or not, I've always been told when I was growing up, you don't question God. You don't question God. But you can't help but to wonder, like, why? Why this person? And I even, when something happens, like, I remember there was this thing that was going on, I think it was Twitter, when Takeoff passed away or was taken. And we have Quavo and Offset still here. And I remember reading some stuff and they were like, oh, the wrong member or whatever was taken. And I was just like, okay, that's an awful thing to say. And I was just like, everybody's life, no matter who you are, matters. And when I read that, I was just like, wow, that's horrible for the one that they were projecting it towards. I was like, that person has to feel bad already as it is, because it was an altercation that basically happened. And the one who is still here was part of the reason that altercation happened. But we can't do that to ourselves. We can't do that to the people that are still here. There is this thing, I believe it's called survivor's remorse. They already dealing with that as it is. So they don't need additional people like putting even more blame on them. If someone passed away and it was an accident or whatever the case may be, I'm quite sure in most cases the person who is responsible, because it was an accident, I ain't talking about intentional stuff, we talking about accidents, they feel bad enough, right? That they hear, or maybe it was something where it was just, like I said, this that survivor's remorse that happens. And sometimes it's okay, you took this person, but I think you might have made a mistake. We can't do that type of stuff. We have to just understand that everything happens for a reason. We may not understand it in that moment, but at some point later down the line, you will. So I hope anyone who's out there that may be dealing with any of the things that I've covered, specifically depression or any form of mental illness, that don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to talk to the person that is closest to you, or go get a therapist and tell them, I need help. Because your life matters. You have someone who loves and cares about you. And if you weren't here anymore, because oh my goodness, depression leads to suicide. The suicide rate in our young adults has grown so significantly, especially after the pandemic, where they just feel like, I can't take it anymore and maybe I'm better off not being here. You are wrong if you feel like that. There is someone who loves and cares about you. If you are still here and you're dealing with stuff, it's because you still have a purpose for your life.
Hi, so my name is Nicolette Royal, or Nicole Johnson for legal purposes. Royal is my father's last name, but my mom gave me my dad's last name, but I use it now with my businesses, and I am the owner of Royal Legacy Services. Royal Legacy Services is a tax prep and tax advisory credit repair business. I started this business, I started doing taxes maybe about 20 years ago, and I treat it as a hobby. It was always a side gig for me. It wasn't until 2 years ago that I decided to go full in with my business when I got laid off. So I provide tax services for personal taxes. I provide tax services for small businesses. I provide tax advice. So with the tax advice, I typically try to give people tips and advice on what they need to do in the year before tax season. So different things that you and strategies that you can implement now will help you with tax savings, tax deductions, and credits and so forth when tax season comes around. I added credit repair about 3 years ago as a service to my tax business. And the reason being was because I had so many tax clients that I would hear when I would have a consultation with them. They would say, as soon as I get my money, I'm going to pay this off, or I'm going to do this so that I can fix my credit. So I felt like it was an opportunity to add credit repair services so that I can help them with their taxes and their credit. one of the things that really helped me in my business is I was my first client. So I started doing my own taxes myself. And then that turned into me doing taxes for family members and then friends. And pretty much everybody that I have currently literally is a referral. I might have a few people that found me on like Yelp or Facebook or something like that. But majority of my clients that I have, they were referred to me by somebody else. The same with credit repair. I actually went to an actual credit repair company before I was about to buy my house. And they got a couple of things off, but they didn't educate me on the importance of how to build my credit back up. They didn't educate me on the different consumer laws or anything of that sort. They just was like, pay me this money and we're going to do this. Well, pay this money to enroll. And I believe they had like a paper delete type of thing. So I decided to do credit repair differently. I probably overshare with my clients. I probably whelm them with things, but I want them to know everything that I know so that they can make sure that they don't get back into the same predicament that they're in when they come to me, right? So I make sure that they know about what makes up their credit score. I make sure that they know that in addition to me getting negative items removed, that they also need to now establish new credit. So I have a list of credit building accounts that I refer them to, and I walk them through the entire process. I also have an ebook that I typically tell new clients, potential clients, right? I tell them, hey, here's an ebook. If you want to work on your credit yourself, you can. And here's the steps on how to do that. So I'll share the link with my Stan store where you can actually purchase my ebook. You'll also have a link on how you can reach me. You will, what else am I going to share? So my number is 702-969-3605. That is my business number. That is how you can reach me, or you can go to Royal Legacy Services, so svcs.com, and you can go ahead and schedule a consultation with me, and I will look at everything that you have going on, whether it's your taxes. I do back taxes. I try to stay away from amendments. If I didn't file your taxes, I typically don't like redoing somebody else's stuff, but I can look at it and look it over and see if it's something that I can help you with. The tax advice, I typically, if you have a business, I love people who have small businesses because there is so much that you are able to claim as a deduction under your business. So those are all the things that I will walk you through and talk you through when you have a consultation with me. So Nicole Johnson or Nicole Royal with Royal Legacy Services.
So get the help and fulfill your purpose. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and pulling up a seat to the table. Until next time, you guys stay blessed. Again, if you are someone who have thought about starting your own podcast, go ahead and check out the links below and get your podcast started. Someone needs to hear your story and your journey too. So start that podcast. You guys stay prayed up because the enemy is busy. All right, you guys stay blessed.
That we are one.